The lineman trade has gotten so competitive and there's so many individuals that want to get into it. It's a very flooded trade, flooded market. So you really have to be the best applicant out there to really just like get into an apprenticeship. It took me almost 2 years to get into a lineman apprenticeship. I was young. I didn't have the most experience. That I had to go out and get experience, do power line tree trim clearance for a while as I interviewed other places, and I didn't get ranked that great. Welcome to episode 9 of CTQ. CTQ is a segment I do on here where I take your guys' questions and I answer them to try to help you guys on your career path getting started in a skilled trade. Now, you can submit your questions a few different ways. You can DM me on Instagram at bluecollar.edu, TikTok bluecollar.edu, email me at austin@bluecollar.edu.com, or go ahead and put them in the YouTube comments down below. And I'll take your questions and I'll put them in my portfolio of questions. And then I'll film a video here and there to answer your guys' questions to help you and others who might have a very similar question. With that being said, let's hop into question number 1. Question number 1 comes from a guy on TikTok, Chris. He says, "Hello, my name is Christian and I am 17 years old looking to get into lineman. I'm currently going into my senior year of high school in South Florida and I'm stuck between going to line school or go straight into an apprenticeship. The main reason is I don't want to finish line school and still have to wait for a response for an apprenticeship. Do you recommend me to get straight into an apprenticeship? And if so, where should I apply as I live in Florida? Thank you for your time." Christian, 17, looking to become a lineman. You live in South Florida. This always goes back to the topic of should I go to lineman school or not? And I'm 50-50 on that. If you have the means, you have the money, if you think it's a good thing for you to experience, to go and get the education of how to become a lineman or how to get started, the kind of work that we do in this trade, I think it could be a pretty great start for many of you. However, they can be expensive and time consuming. One thing I'll look for, like I always say, is what kind of certifications will you get inside of that line school? So are they getting you your Class A CDL? Are they gonna get your CPR first aid, flagger's card, OSHA 10, 30, 40? What certifications are they gonna get you? So I don't know exactly the line schools that are in South Florida. However, I always tell people, well, just try to get into an apprenticeship. It doesn't hurt to apply, but I will tell you, 17 years old, I'm looking to get in your Class A CDL right off the bat. Once you're 18, go get your Class A CDL. And really that's going to kind of limit you to Florida for the most part, because once you're not 21, your CDL is only good in the state you get it in, unless you transfer your license to a different state where you go work. That's a whole rigmarole, whole process that's not exactly fun or easy. It can cause a lot of headache. It did for me. Once you're 18, I would say apply at CELCAT, which is that southeast region where you live that covers a bunch of different states. The map right here, this is the map I always throw up, and you can type in any one of those acronyms and it's gonna bring you directly to basically the website where you can learn a lot more about those apprenticeship opportunities for becoming a lineman in the state or in the area you live in. As far as going straight into an apprenticeship, it's a tough ask. I would love to be able to say, oh yeah, you can just go hop straight into an apprenticeship. And it may have been like that years ago, but not so much anymore, because the lineman trade has gotten so competitive and there's so many individuals that want to get into it. It's a very flooded trade, flooded market. So you really have to be the best applicant out there to really just like get into an apprenticeship. It took me almost 2 years to get into a lineman apprenticeship. I was young. I didn't have the most experience. That I had to go out and get experience, do power line tree trim clearance for a while as I interviewed other places. And I didn't get ranked that great, because a lot of these places you apply, whether it's utility or outside construction, you're put on a rank list of sorts between doing an aptitude test or an orientation of sorts, physical test, written test, interviews. Based off all your scores, you get put on a rank list, and then based off that rank list, you'll get called out as an apprentice as your name gets closer to number 1. And most apprenticeships are structured that way. So to just say to go straight into an apprenticeship is a pretty big ask. So that's why a lot of people will think, well, if I go to a lineman school, that's going to get me my certifications, training, education, experience to get me a better rank score on an interview. And that is possible. Could be possible. It could be true. And I've seen it happen on couple different occasions where individuals will go to a lineman school and they will, get a job directly out of lineman school. Companies will come, they'll see what students are doing good, and maybe they'll offer an application, and you can go through the whole application process. I haven't seen that firsthand, but I have heard of that happening. Now, I would recommend you, if you could, to get straight into an apprenticeship. But like I said, it's not as easy as just getting into an apprenticeship. I still, though, would apply for CELCAT as they open up apprenticeships. They're not open up all the time. I don't know. They might open up 2 or 3 times a year. You have to go on their website, SEL, CAT, or like I showed in that picture, you can just type in the acronym and it'll give you a lot more information about what that apprenticeship has to offer, what positions are open to apply for right now. I know there's substation techs, there's a variety of different apprenticeships that you can apply for, not just a lineman apprenticeship. And some of those might be actually a good option for you to do, as to apply for some of those other apprenticeships that are not the lineman apprenticeship. So you can start getting actual real world hands-on experience. Maybe you complete one of the apprenticeships, become a journeyman substation tech. That's great experience. And if you get into one at 18 years old, complete an apprenticeship by 21, 22, 23, man, that's a great tool to have in your belt. And if you want to pursue the lineman trade, you're going to go into that application process, into that interview with that skills, with that experience, with that education that you've learned from previous experience. And it's going to look really great on a resume. You can also apply at the utilities in your area, which, like I said, I don't know exactly what utility, but there is a website you can go on. It's called poweroutage.us. And you can go on this website, and actually, I'll show right here, where you can go on here, you can click on the state that you want to apply at, and it'll show all the different utilities. So let's just say you're Florida, you said. So we'll click on Florida, and you can hover over any one of these counties in Florida. And let's say you down here in South Florida in Miami-Dade, and it'll tell you right here the utility that is in charge of providing power to that area. And right here it is providers Florida Power and Light Company, FP&L. You can use that resource to find the utility in your area, and then you can always just go on their website and see if they have applications open for a laborer, groundman, or pre-apprentice or apprentice, and then you can just apply. You can use that resource for any state you want to. You can click on the state and then click on the county once you get to that state, and then that county will show you the provider, and then you can see how many customers they have and customer outages and stuff. We use a lot just kind of to track when storms hit, like how many outages there are in certain states and certain areas. So that's why I use it, but you can use this website, it's poweroutage.us, to find a utility that's in your area. Sometimes you have smaller utilities, little co-ops that are not the big name ones like FP&L or Excel or Eversource, or these big companies. They have millions and millions of customers. Anyways, besides the fact, that's a resource you can use to find. So for you, probably Florida Power and Light is going to be your best bet. Go on their website to see if they have any positions open for pre-apprentice or apprentice or something along those lines. Apply for whatever, honestly, get your foot in the door, because I know a lot of utilities, they will have like a bid system where you can go in, if you get your foot in the door and start working for that company, when they put out new positions, they offer them to the employees of that company first, And then if you work for that company already, you can bid on that job. And then depending on how your bid goes, I don't know exactly how that process works, but you might be able to eventually get yourself into a pre-apprenticeship or groundman position, and then eventually an apprenticeship. So those are your two options. Apply at CellCat when they open up their applications, or look to see for FP&L, Florida Power and Light, and see if they have any sort of applications open for a position that you'd be interested in, and go ahead and apply. I'm not going to say there's not a good chance you get in, but like I said, it's a competitive trade all the way around. So I say, get that experience of just going through an application process, learning how the applications work and those sorts of things, and then just go there step by step. As you go, you're going to learn, okay, I'm not going to do this. You're going to do a couple interviews, learn how interviews happen or how these tests work, those orientation tests, physical tests, written tests, all kinds of tests. They want to weed out as many people as they can, and eventually they hire on 1, 2, 3, I don't know. They might hire on, FP&L is massive. They might hire on, 50 apprentices a year or whatever that number may be. So that's what I would tell you to do, is to go ahead, Christian, apply FP&L if they have positions open, apply a CellCat. First off, work on getting your Class A CDL, or if not, I'm not telling you not to go to lineman school. Just see what that lineman school has to offer as far as certifications. And if you're in a position where maybe you got to get a loan out to go. I mean, I did. I will say it was probably not my best thing I could have done. I now know from my experience that I could have gone different routes, but at the time I didn't know. And that's kind of why I'm here to help answer your guys' questions. Do power line tree trim clearance. There's many different positions open through the Union Hall. I believe down there it's IBW Local 222, and you can look them up, IBW 222, and see if they have any standing calls. You can look on their website to see what kind of positions they have open. Go sign the books at Local 222. Once you get your Class A CDL or any other certifications you want to get, like your first aid CPR or flagging, or maybe you want to get OSHA certifications, you can do all that on your own. They cost some money, but those are kind of your routes or suggestions I'd have for you. Just getting started at a young age, 17, 18 years old, you're kind of limited right now, but I would just say get experience. And experience as far as just like working experience is going to go a pretty long way when it comes to applying for apprenticeships and doing interviews. For them to be able to see real life experience, like working on a crew, working outdoors, whether that might be doing dirt work or construction or substation work or electrician, any one of these skilled trades, to have to see that on your resume can go far for you. So don't rule out those experiences or the education you'll get from doing a trade that's not the lineman trade, and just get experience. And then once you turn 21, the world really your oyster. You can travel anywhere with your CDL and apply it almost any apprenticeship. Some apprenticeships are going to tell you, hey, you got to be a resident of this state in order to apply in this apprenticeship. And if that's something you're willing to do and you want to do, then take those steps as appropriate for yourself. But that's still 3-4 years down the road for you. So good luck. Just do kind of what I told you to do. Get experience, apply, CellCat, Florida Power and Light, go to IBW 222, sign the out of work books, list as a groundman, get your Class A CDL, no auto restrictions, get your flagging permit, get your first aid CPR, OSHA 10, 20, 30 if you want to, and then just go from there. All right, question number 2. Number 2 comes from a guy on Hector. This is also off TikTok. Hector says, hi, I bet you're a busy man. Just had a quick question about getting into the lineman trade. I'm 18 years old, been looking at the trade for some time. I'm working on getting my CDL, good, and I'm not sure if I could go straight to Cal Nev JATC after I take the test for an apprenticeship. Should I get some experience in a tree trimming company, or should I just join the IBW first before anything? I'm just confused on what I should do. If you could give me some tips and paths you recommend going, thank you for your time. Okay, good. You're getting your Class A CDL. Hopefully you use Class A CDL, no auto restrictions as you just said CDL. Not sure if you should go straight to CalNav. You can try. That's an extremely competitive apprenticeship. Extremely competitive. Absolutely, though, still apply. I will tell you to apply for that apprenticeship. Go through the whole interview process, application process. Like I said previously, that's great experience in itself for yourself, so you know in the future. You probably won't get ranked that good. You might. You might get lucky and get ranked really good and get called out as an apprentice. But CalNev is so competitive and so flooded with people in that apprenticeship that will take some time. I know guys have been applied at that apprenticeship many times, and they've been on the apprentice books out of work, their rank list for, I think they can do it for 2 years if you have lineman school experience, a year if you don't. Get some experience in a tree trimming company. Yes, I say that's great experience. I don't know what part of California you're in. If you're southern or northern, there's 2 different union halls in California. You have IBW Local 47, which is Southern California, and you have IBW Local 1245, which is in Northern California. I think they call out tree trimming groundmen out of the union books. So if you sign the union books and you get called out as a groundman for a tree trimming crew, I say do that. That's what I did. Great experience all the way around. You'll learn a lot inside the tree trimming trade. I learned a crap ton. Rigging, math, climbing, a lot of stuff is very applicable to the lineman trade. It's obviously not the same. You're not working with electricity, but you are working kind of around it, and you have to take that caution while doing so. So I think tree trimming is a great, and maybe it's not even union. Maybe you just work for a tree trim company. That's still great experience regardless. You're still going to be doing similar things, but power line tree trimming clearance, great experience. Just regular tree trimming, that's great experience. You learn to climb, learn to work on a crew outdoors. Maybe you do some storm work, working on the road, near the road, heights, all those things, rigging, knots, a lot of things that you'll do inside the tree trimming trade that are very well applicable to the lineman trade. And you say, should you just join the IBW first? I also say yeah to that. So like I said, go to IBW 47 or 1245. I'm not sure which one you're closest to or is in your area. And you just literally go there with your CDL and you go sign the out of work books, probably book 4, which is probably like 2,000 ground guys on book 4 because it's such a flooded books. And then, sign the books. You'll probably sit on the books for a long time. You have to re-sign them every month too. So you stay consistent up to, if you don't get called out, you have to keep signing the books every month. So you got to make sure you're doing that to make sure you're staying on the list. So sign the books. And if you get called out, whether that as a tree trimming groundman or as a groundman for a lineman crew, that's when you'll get indentured into the IBW, into the union, and you become a union member and start paying your dues. Until then, there's not really much else you can do. You just have to sit on the out of work books list. So what I would recommend for you at 18 years old, if you could, start doing tree trimming. That's awesome experience. Start working, start getting experience. Like I said in the previous question, start getting experience. This can be the most important thing that you can do. And you might wait quite a few years, and seems like the norm in California. And I know CalNav isn't just California; it's Nevada as well. But it's just a very competitive, flooded apprenticeship to apply for. Once you turn 21, I would suggest moving and maybe trying somewhere else out, because your time may be wasted trying to get into a lineman apprenticeship in California. I've known guys who are from California who they went to places like New Mexico, but they applied at apprenticeships all over the place. And once they got a call for an apprenticeship that's outside of California, they took it. and they just have to move and they just hit the road and they now working in a different area completely. So yeah, go to the union hall, sign the books, keep up on re-signing each month, get your CDL, any other certifications like I mentioned in the previous question, and then wait for a phone call, start applying, get on with a tree trimmer if you can. Any other experience doing laying conduit for underground power lines. There's a lot of different experience you can get that are kind of similar to the lineman trade. Really, I just say any experience is good experience in a skilled trade. Hands-on experience, working physical labor, working around other guys, just learning your role as a laborer, as a grunt, building that work ethic, that resiliency, that ambition to want to learn and work hard. Building those skills, those are all going to be really good for you for once you get into the lineman trade, because the lineman trade is not easy. It's pretty hard, and you have to really want it to do it. So don't let the competitiveness and the flooded market in Cal Nav steer you away from applying there and trying out. And then your time will come eventually. If it's something you really want to do, it will take time. Sometimes it doesn't take time. I know guys, it's taken them like no time at all. But for me, it took me 2 years to get into an apprenticeship, lineman apprenticeship. And I was 20, so I was still pretty young. And then I completed apprenticeship when I was 23, and I'm 27 and a half now. So I've been in the trade for some years, but that's from my experience, what I've seen so far in those years of being in the union and working in the trades. That's what I would tell you to do. So hopefully you can learn from these 2 questions what it kind of takes to become a lineman, kind of some different steps, advice, tips, and tricks, what you should do if you want to get started in the trade. It's very competitive. I will say this over and over and over again. Do not have high expectations about just getting into an apprenticeship. It happens, but very small percentage of people just get into an apprenticeship. It'll take time. Trust me, unless you know somebody like your uncle or dad or grandpa or something is in the union hall or has some pull, then those guys, they can get in pretty quickly. But if you don't know anyone, like I didn't know anyone, you just have to follow the proper steps, do the applications, do the interviews, recycle and repeat over and over again until your time will finally come where you'll get that phone call for an apprenticeship in the lineman trade. Hopefully you can learn from this segment, this episode of episode 9 of CTQ. I will see you on episode 10 of CTQ. Don't forget, if you want to submit your questions, austin@bluecollaredu.com. Email me is the best way, or you can DM me on the different social media platforms, and I'll take your questions and I'll answer them here. So with that being said, I'll catch you on the next episode.